All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Boxing Day today. Boxing Day. I thought this would be a good time to do predictions for 2025 as told to us by the Simpsons, because we know that the Simpsons are actually greater than Nostradamus. They're accurate. So we're going to be talking about some episodes that lay out some predictions for 2025 that might blow your socks off if they were to come true. I have to put a little bit of a disclaimer first, though, before we get going and before we get into the chats, is Simpsons predictions are 100% accurate some of the time. So take this with a grain of salt, what I'm about to share with you. They could be accurate anywhere from 0% to 100%. And really, at the end of the day, like we're all guessing. We're all guessing as to what's going to happen next year. But I think this is a good time to reflect. And this is a good time to make some educated and uneducated guesses as to what's coming down the pipes next year. That being said, let's jump into some of the comments. Let's see what's going on. Let's see here. Shirley Anderson, welcome. Amy, welcome. Happy birthday, Amy. Happy birthday. How old are you today? 24? 26, perhaps? Perhaps 55? Don't know. All right, so let's, who else is here? Swift Win, great channel name. Mark is in the house today. Jessica Marie. Is that one word? Jessica Marie? Is that how people address you? Hi, Jessica. Jessica Mary. Let's see. Shirley Anderson. Nobody listens. I'm listening. Welcome to the show today. Valley Watchman Zealot for Christ. Great channel name. What else? We got Mummy of Angel Eyes. Brackets, got a minute. Interesting channel name. Who else do we have here? Sorry, that's a cat on my lap. That's a great channel name. Great channel name. All right, let's just jump into this. And if anything pops up where you're like, you know what, maybe we could talk about this a little bit more, then we'll do this. Just so you guys know, because it's Boxing Day, I'm not going to go all day, but I want to give you guys a chance to enjoy your family, hang out, and that kind of stuff. But I thought it'd be kind of fun. We have some more relatives coming to visit this afternoon. So I thought, you know what, let's just go live this morning, because I can't promise that I'll be going live tomorrow. All right, so let's just go into some of these predictions. I think perhaps the way I'll do this is to dive into some of the predictions that happened in 2024, last year, and then we'll dive into what the Simpsons, based on their episodes that they've already aired in at least the last couple of years, and most likely going all the way back to the 90s. That's what's interesting about the Simpsons. So let's see what they got right 2024. So the first thing, aliens making headlines. So when did this happen? This was in season 2, October 25, 1990. The episode was called The Treehouse of Horror. The recurring characters, Kang and Kudos, represent aliens making first contact with humanity And in 2024, as we know, UAP disclosures and increased government transparency regarding UFOs seem to align with this long-running theme. And again, we've been talking about this for a while, that the government knows something that we don't know. I'm talking, man, this is in movies going all the way back to Independence Day, War of the Worlds, all this kind of stuff. The idea that government agencies have ships that have been downed and they've basically reverse engineered them to see what makes them tick. And the government's just all of a sudden within the last year or so, they're just coming forth saying that we have evidence that we're being visited. But the interesting thing about what they say is they never say we're being visited by beings from other planets. They don't say that. They don't say that this is our technology. They usually say it's beyond our technology. They say it's almost like they leave it open-ended, but they're really hinting at the idea that these things are interdimensional, meaning they're not from other planets, they're not aliens, but they could be fallen angels for all we know. But they don't say it outright, because then Christianity, I think, all of a sudden doesn't sound so crazy when we talk about end times and all this kind of stuff. So instead, they'll just say things like, it's not ours, but it's not theirs either. It's something else going on. And the only other thing going on would be fallen angels. Powers, rulers, principalities, rulers of the air. That would be the next logical conclusion. Because what else is there but something that is outside of our time zone? If it's not ours and it's not theirs, what else could it be? Trump-related events. So in the episode called Bart to the Future, season 11, March 19th, 2000, you can look it up yourself. You can watch the episode. Lisa inherits a financial crisis from President Trump. Any major Trump-related political or legal headlines in 2024 echo the show's prediction of Trump's lasting influence on politics. Here's something interesting. Drones becoming mainstream. So in the episode called The Day the Earth Stood Cool, in season 24, December 9th, you'll have to come back and watch the show again and then just write out all the dates. That way you can go look up these episodes. I think this would be a good thing to do before the end of the year, to watch some of these episodes where these are. And then when it comes true in 2025, you can look back, you can look back to this channel and go, oh, look, this is what the Black Swan was talking about. So in 2024, drones are widespread for package deliveries, warfare, surveillance, and showcasing the show's foresight into their prominence. So the idea is the episode features drones being used casually in daily life. That's the theme behind that whole episode. Drones are everywhere. We're using drones all the time. So this is a prediction for 2025. In, let's see, episode called Lisa's Wedding. This was season 6, March 19th, 1995. We had technological oversight. So predicting the rise of smartwatches, the show's vision of a highly technological future is becoming increasingly relevant. In 2024, issues surrounding AI regulation and societal impact dominated the headlines. This is what we've experienced in 2024. This year, we experienced this. Good morning, Barbie. Everything Jesus. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. So again, we've had these predictions, but when you think about it, I think this year I don't think I've ever thought about AI more than I have than this year alone. Last year, AI wasn't really on my horizon. I know Elon Musk talked about it. He would say things like it's too late. They should have listened to me, all this kind of stuff, but it wasn't a real push. I think beginning of this year, I started playing around with Chat GPT. I have a subscription to it because if you don't have a subscription, you can't really use it that much. You kind of run out of texts or sentences, if you will. So what I like to do is I like to use it to create some of my thumbnails. I use it to help me create thumbnails. And then also if you're writing an email here and there, it's nice to use Chat GPT for that, all this kind of good stuff. But I also understand that Chat GPT is wrong 60% of the time. 60% of the time. Imagine hanging out with a friend that is so confident in every word that they utter that when you correct them, they move on like it was nothing. Like they could be totally wrong about something. And we've probably had friends like that in the past where they're so sure of what they believe, whatever it is under the sun, that you can't correct them. You could say something like, dude, you did not park your car in this parking lot. You parked it over there. And they're like, no, I didn't. They moved it over here. I did not park over there. I parked here. I know it. That's why I can't find it right now. And you can try and convince them until you actually grab their head and you turn it. And they're like, oh, maybe I did park over there. And even then, they'll argue with you. We've all had friends like that, or little brothers that think they know more than their big brother. That's Chat GPT. It's like an annoying little brother that is wrong more than half the time. And yet it's so confident that unless you catch it lying, you'll never know because it has so much confidence. And it'll come across like it knows everything. It could be just something simple, just simple things it'll just mess up on, and it'll be so confident. It's almost like the program itself is waiting for you to correct it, waiting for you to catch it. So imagine getting something wrong 60% of the time at work. How long do you think you'll last? Not very long. I would argue that you probably wouldn't make it through the day if you're wrong 60% of the time. Anytime your boss asks you a question, half the time you're wrong, dead wrong, and you don't even blink. You're so confident. This is ChatGPT. So wrong. Hey, Alan, how's it going? Welcome, Matthew. Barbie. Wide Awake and Aware 2022. Great channel name as well. Are you wide awake this morning? Did you grab your Black Swan coffee? I wish I had my own coffee to sell. That would be great. I would call it Black Swan coffee. I would have caffeinated, and then I would have a double dose, extra caffeinated. For those that need a little extra punch, none of this decaf stuff. None of this decaf. Like I think it's just there's something wrong about having decaf coffee. There's just something wrong about it. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Like when I look at someone that tell me that they're a brother in the Lord and they tell me they drink decaf coffee, I'm like, I gotta question your salvation, bro. I'm just questioning you right now. I don't know if you're truly saved because you're drinking decaf coffee. I don't know. I don't know. So let's go on to another point. Another point here. Hopefully one day you guys will get my humor. One day you'll get my humor. So drones becoming mainstream technological oversight climate concerns. So in the episode called The Old Man and the Lisa of season 8, April 20th, 1997, this episode highlights environmental crises and corporate greed, with extreme weather events and global climate debates intensifying in 2024. The show's theme remains pertinent. Political turmoil, episode called Sideshow Bob Roberts, season 6, October 9th, 1994. This episode portrays bizarre political campaigns and voter manipulation, reflecting the chaotic undertones of the 2024's political environment. And I know in the summertime, especially after what's this here? Let's see here. What's going on here? I just had a message pop up on my. Still going live? Okay. I just had a message pop up on somebody trying to hack into my Mac computer, wanting a passcode, which is weird. And it didn't come up on my live stream in the comments. That's kind of weird, but my laptop is closed, so that's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing popping up on my computer. So, anyways, let's move right along here. So the last thing is UAP technology. So Springfield Files season 8, January 12th, 1997. This X-Files crossover deals with government secrecy around UFOs, mirroring today's growing focus on UAPs and the potential for extraterrestrial technology. These predictions from The Simpsons continue to resonate as a reality catches up with the show's uncanny ability to anticipate cultural, technological, and political events. So that was for 2024. Now we're going to get into some of the juicy stuff for 2025. Welcome, Johnny Z. Welcome to the show. Homeward Bound. That's a great show, by the way. Great show. It's just the earth winding down. Yep. B Chrome. All right. So let's go into some of the predictions for 2025. Again, this is from Chat GPT predicting based on all the episodes from The Simpsons as to what could potentially happen in 2025. So again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not asking you to pack your bags because of these predictions. I'm just sharing this with you because it's an interesting topic at this time of year. Usually people do top 10 countdowns, all kinds of stuff. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about 2025. Let's see here. My dad says you look like Major Chip Hazard with glasses. The guy from the movie Small Soldiers. Oh, yes. That was voiced by Tommy Lee Jones. I believe Chip Hazard. Yeah, that was a great show, actually. I think that show was underrated. Fantastic show. I think I actually remember renting a video game called Toy Soldiers as well. I think I remember Small Soldiers. I think there was a video game, and you can actually use plastic soldiers, and it was multiplayer. You can play on I think it was Nintendo 64. You can actually have 4 screens, 4 players, and you go after each other with these bazookas or these flamethrowers. And when you hit someone, they actually melt. I thought that was a great game. All right, so let's go into the predictions now for 2025, because this is why you're here. This is why you want to know what's going on. This is better than Nostradamus. So here are the predictions for 2025, inspired by events and episodes in The Simpsons. So this is a show that is famously known for its uncanny ability to predict the future. So here we go. So number 1, holographic entertainment. Widespread use of holograms in live concerts and everyday interactions. This was on Lisa's Wedding season 6, as in people getting married through holograms. So they would actually buy headsets, they would wear VR goggles, and they would get married virtually with people from other parts of the world. And this is in Lisa's Wedding season 6. Smart homes with AI gone awry. Homes controlled by AI that develop unexpected behaviors. This was in the House of Wax and the Treehouse of Horror, season 12, I believe. I'll have to check out that episode. The holographic entertainment is something that I'm going to watch. That's called Lisa's Wedding season 6. Brain computer interface, brain implants allowing direct interaction with devices. This was showcased in Bart to the Future season 11. Autonomous vehicles malfunction, self-driving cars creating unexpected societal chaos. This is in the future episodic clips. In the future, I think that's what it's called. Robot takeovers, robots performing human tasks but causing widespread disruptions. This is in Itchy and Scratchy Land season 6. Environmental catastrophe, a significant event triggering a massive environmental crisis. This was on The Old Man and the Lisa season 8. Colonizing Mars, the beginning stages of human colonies on Mars. So this would be the Margerian Chronicles season 27. I had no idea that they went on for that long. A pandemic resurgence. And if you watch End Times Talk with Josh, he talks about this, that there is a pandemic coming next year, like they're preparing right now to have a second wave, a second resurgence of the pandemic. Many people sick in eastern parts of the US. I've yet to see that here in Alberta, but a lot of people are starting to ramp this up and say that this is coming. So this was another global health event, Homer versus the 18th Amendment in season 8. So check that one out. World Cup controversy. I don't think the World Cup is this in 2025. I don't think so. I'd have to look that up. Maybe somebody knows. World Cup controversy. A scandal involving AI or refereeing decisions in international sports. You don't have to live like a referee, season 25. So that is interesting. I'll be keeping an eye on that. All right, what else do we have here? Unexpected political leadership. A celebrity or unexpected figure becoming a major political leader. Bart to the Future season 11. I often thought, especially in 2025 or this year, thinking about 2025, I often thought, why is The Rock so quiet with all this political stuff going on? because during COVID, he made a video to become very political, and he said, "Where is our leader?" Talking about Donald Trump. And he went on and on for like a couple of minutes. I think it was on Instagram, YouTube, all these. And he was like, "Where is our leader?" But during the election, I didn't hear one peep from The Rock. Is it because he's so busy because he's on the board of WWE and he's making movies? Or is it because he's fearful of this Diddy list? Is he fearful? And this is why he stayed away. Don't know. I don't think he would be on that list because he seems to have a pretty clean record, that this isn't the type of crowd that he hangs out with. But I could be wrong. It just, to me, it was surprisingly quiet for The Rock. Usually he's got something to say, and I didn't hear him say anything about Donald Trump or endorsing Kamala Harris or anything like that. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know in the clips. Say, yeah, The Rock went on and on this year about Joe Biden being his friend or Kamala, whoever. I had to be quick on that one. That was a quick sneeze. It's like I get one sneeze a day, and that was it. This comes out of nowhere. All right, so what else do we have? Maybe perhaps another sneeze because I said it. Allergies this morning. Dust particles. All right, so let's go into some more. Actually, let's go to the chat. Yeah, good mute. Just in time, right? I'm like, where's the mute button? All right, so let's see here. Let's see any of the comments before we continue. Our infrared scanning. Every 5 seconds, your devices are infrared scanning. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but that could be just an incomplete sentence. Our phones take our pictures every 30 seconds. Been like that for a while. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think there's probably something going on there for sure. Listening keeps lighting up for sure. I know I get a lot of commercials because I was ordering a backdrop for this podcast. All of a sudden, you get Amazon ads, you get all kinds of commercials about lighting, podcasting, all this kind of stuff. So we know we've been listened to for a while. And it probably goes all the way back to the 50s, the 40s, since World War II, and probably even before that they just listened to us. When I was a kid, this is what they used to tell us, that the military created HTTP. They said it was a government project, a government program, and then they basically released it to the public. I think this was like in the 90s, whenever the internet took off. They released it to the public so that the public could use what they were secretly using for years. Now, that's what we were told in school. But turns out, because of the parallel universe theory or the Nelson Mandela theory, we have another organization called CERN. They were the ones that actually invented the internet. And I never heard anything about CERN when I was a kid. They didn't talk about CERN, nothing. If they did, I wasn't paying attention to it. I don't remember any conversations about a particles accelerator in Europe. I didn't know anything about that. But now, if you do research, you go look it up on Wikipedia or anywhere else, they basically, CERN was the one that the one that invented hypertext. What do they call it? HTTP. They're the ones that invented it. And I'm telling you, when I was a kid, that's never how it was presented to me, that a particle collider invention, because they needed more power, network other power sources to power it up throughout Europe. I never heard that at all. That was not on our radar. And only in the last year or so did it start coming up that historically CERN is the one that created hypertext protocol. They created the internet. They're responsible for it. Again, look it up. It's all over the place. And I'm like, where was this information when I was a kid, when I was in high school, when they're talking about the creation of the internet? None of this existed. None of this. That to me is strangely crazy. Like the idea that CERN, let me just look it up real quick just to make sure that I'm not making up anything for you. Let me just go to this real quick because I think this is important. So I feel like this is part of the whole, the government hiding things, agencies hiding things. Who invented, here, I am going to, why don't I just show this? This is what I use here. So let me just go to, I use Chat GPT quite a bit when it comes to searching things on the internet because it's just faster. It's way faster than reading articles from Google. But then you can also add things like sources. So for example, who created the internet and provide sources. So this is where you know where these articles are. Let's see what it says. Let's see here. Let me turn off this background slide as well. All right. Hopefully you guys can read this. Let me put this full screen so you guys can read this here. All right. So what does ChatGPT say? The creation of the internet was a collaboration effort involving numerous researchers and institutions over several decades. So J.C.R. Licklider in the early 1960s, intergalactic network of computers, envisioning a global interconnected set of computers through which everyone could quickly access data. And this is from the history website, I think. Let's see, Paul Barron and Donald Davis independently. Paul Barron in the United States and Davies, the United Kingdom, developed the concept of a packet switching in the 1960s. This method of breaking data into smaller packets, let's see, ARPANET. So in the 60s, this is what I heard. The U.S. Department of Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, called ARPA, was the first operational packet switching network and precursor to the modern internet. Connected 4 universally computers, demonstrating a feasibility of networked computers. Let's see here. I don't say anything. Oh yeah, right here. So let's go skip down a little bit. Tim Berners-Lee, 1989, while working at CERN, Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web, creating the first web-based browser and web server. He developed the fundamental technologies of URLs, HTTP, and HTML, enabling the internet to become a user-friendly and widely accessible information space. So this is in Wikipedia. So interesting. I never knew that in 1989, most likely because I wasn't in high school anymore. But I don't remember anything to do with CERN when it came to the internet. I always thought it was the military and their people. Crazy, right? Crazy, crazy. Yeah, I do too. I miss the sound of the old modems, the screeching and the waiting, and then somebody would call you just right when you finally log into AOL, and all of a sudden you get kicked out. Like, our kids have no idea about the stress that we had to deal with back in the 90s. Like, we used to have to use phone plugs, plug them into the phone, and that would be hooked up to the back of our computer, and then we would log into AOL, and sometimes it would take you a couple of minutes. You'd be just waiting and waiting, and it would just be spinning and spinning and spinning. Then finally you get on, and I think there was maybe a handful of websites that you can look up, and it was all text-based. Everything was text. Like, that's all you did was read, and once in a while you would get a picture, and then somebody would call you and say, "Hey, you want to go to a movie or something?" And it's like, "Oh man, now I gotta log back in again." And it was just so painful that you would just have to leave. And I'm telling you, that was what we grew up on. Like, my generation has seen so many amazing things that would make our kids' heads spin. Like, the idea of having, like, I think probably one of the best video games ever invented was Pong. That was a fantastic game where you just had one dot going up to the top of the screen or to the left, and then you had a little paddle and you'd bump it, and then it would go across to the other side of the screen, and then you'd have another paddle, bump it back. I'm telling you, the graphics were second to none. Forget about all these new video games like Battlefront and Battlefield and all these other war games. Like, I'm so caught up on all these war games that they have. But the graphics today, obviously I'm kidding, but the graphics today are second to none. But back then, that's all we had was Pong, and then we had, so what would be the order? We had Atari. I remember going to a friend's house and I thought, this is the best thing. Space Invaders, Defender, all these games. Like, I was just like, this. I actually have an Atari somewhere. I think it's downstairs, but it's an Atari 2600 replica with all the games built into it, which is pretty cool. And I actually have, oh, I forgot about that. I actually have an old Atari as well that somebody gave me. I traded them for, I had a oh, what was it called? Game Boy. I traded him for an Atari. So he took my Game Boy. I have it. I still have it somewhere. And what was the game that I have that I wanted? I wanted to get this one game. It's called the Royal Rumble, WWF. And I'm telling you, I used to play that game forever with my brothers. I remember my brother Dustin and myself playing Royal Rumble. And what we would do is we had it down to a science where a new guy would come into the ring. I would give him a couple of shots, and then I'd throw him to my brother, and then he would flip him over and he'd go outside the ring. And the deal was, at the end, then we would square off with each other. So we would do that. Another guy'd come in, my brother would kick him and then throw him to me, and I'd throw him over the ropes. And then finally, the last guy to come in, I would grab the guy, kick him a couple of times, and then throw him to my brother. And my brother was in the process of flipping him over, and I would start kicking my brother. And he's like, stop it, stop it. And every time the guy would get kicked, he'd go down there and grab him by the hair and then throw him over. And then all of a sudden, ding, 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 winner. I remember that. I think my brother remembered that. We used to get into little scraps over that. But that was the greatest betrayal ever in WWF history. That was called a turn. I turned from the hero to a heel in 1 nanosecond. But my brother and I used to play a lot of those video games, and they were hacked by computers. When we were playing NHL hockey, you could never, I forget what season it was, but you could never beat the Detroit Red Wings, no matter what. we would be up 6-0 in the third period, and all of a sudden my goalie would start floating away from the net, and then they would score. And I'm like, how is this even remotely realistic? A goalie would never drift out of his net. There's no way. But this is the stuff we grew up on. And now, like, the graphics today are just second to none. Crazy. You know what's funny too? This is kind of an interesting thing. We'll go back to predictions, but I remember when I was about 7, my mom bought me a little vehicle. They call it an ENG production crew, and I don't even know why these toys existed, but basically it was a van that you can put a camera crew inside it. It had a reporter, it had a director, and it had a cameraman. And that was my favorite toy at 7 years old. I played with that thing all the time. My dad actually bought me a tape recorder, if you can believe this. And my uncle and I, and he's only about a year older than me, we used to make radio programs together. I should actually have him on the show. But we would call the show WKRP in Cincinnati, and we would record on a cassette our radio programs. And we would do this all day and all night, and we just laugh, and we do outtakes, all kinds of stuff. We'd hit record, and we'd keep trying to record the introduction. Welcome to WKRP in Cincinnati. This is when I was 7 years old with a tape recorder. That was like my favorite thing, was to make radio shows. Interesting, right? And now I do podcasts almost every single day involving sound equipment, camera equipment. That's kind of interesting when you think about it. So when you look at a child and you see them, one interesting thing, and I'll continue on, but I think it's funny watching kids. My grandson is 18 months old, and one of his presents was a microphone and an electric guitar, like a little toy guitar. And he grabbed that mic and he started singing Jesus Loves Me and all this kind of stuff. And with his electric guitar swinging. And I'm like, this is actually amazing that some of the other kids were playing with other toys, and he's singing to Jesus with a microphone on a stand, on a mic stand that was probably about 10 or 12 inches high. And he grabs the mic and he's singing like he's singing at a rock concert. And he's got his electric guitar, and he's not even holding the guitar. He's just singing. And I was like, man, could this be the next worship leader in our family? Because my wife was a worship leader, and I would argue with anyone, I think she had the best voice on the planet, second to none. And it feels like that talent skips a generation, because my daughter and her husband, they're not known to be singers. Like, they would never want to stand in front of people and sing. They would not do that. My wife did that. She did that for years, leading worship at our church. And again, that's how I met her as well, was her voice. I was working at a Bible college, and I walked through the boot room, and all of a sudden I heard this angelic voice singing. I'm like, that's interesting. Walked up to her. Her sister was playing on the piano, and I walked up to her, and I'm like, how you doing? I was probably, what was I? I was 20 years old. How you doing? And it worked. She married me. It worked. This was before friends was a thing. I was pretty cool back in those days. Back in the day. Now, how do you say I am past the prime? Past the prime. My point is, my kids can't sing. Maybe my son, you can argue that he can sing, but my other two daughters, they wouldn't be caught dead on stage singing. They're just like, no, that's not for me. But it's interesting seeing my grandson had no problem grabbing the mic and singing about Jesus. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. That will be something to see. Imagine if we're still here 14, 15 years from now, and he's leading worship in front of a church. You probably, I called it here that he's going to be a worship leader in the future. Okay. If we're still here, I'm calling it. You can come back to watch this episode 15 years from now, and you can say, you know what? Shane called it. He called it. He said his grandson was going to lead worship at a church. All right. So let's continue on with our predictions. What else do we have here? Okay. So smart homes, brain computer interface. Brain implants allowing direct interaction with devices. This is Bart to the Future season 11. Autonomous vehicles malfunction. Self-driving cars creating unexpected societal chaos. And we've seen this in a movie called The World We Left Behind. That happened with all the Tesla. Okay, let's skip ahead. Oh, I was way down here. All right, so virtual reality relationship. Virtual partners replacing traditional relationships. I can definitely see this happening where people are too afraid to talk to women in person, talking about men, too afraid to have a social interaction with real women. They would rather get a subscription to virtual reality relationships. And it's a sad commentary of humanity if you would rather talk to a virtual AI of a woman or a person of the opposite sex, that you would feel more comfortable having someone say to you, "Hi, sweetie. Good morning, sweetie." They never argue with you. You need that. That's what keeps you sharp. You need interaction. You need arguing. You need being able to come up with decisions together on what home to buy, what car to buy, which bills to pay, all this kind of stuff. You need to do that together. But I could see this being the thing in the next few years, especially if we're out of here. If the rapture happens, I could see this thing exploding because there's nobody going to be around to say, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong. Don't do that." Like have a real relationship with someone of the opposite sex. Don't be going on these chat dating apps. Don't do that. Flying cars, while still rare, flying cars enter mainstream. This is Future Drama season 16. I've yet to see a flying car in person, but with drones, I think it's actually more probable in the next. I think we're still a ways away from that. Let's just say in 5 years, I can see people going into a drone from their home and then actually taking off to work and landing on top of a building. I can see that. I think that's the next wave versus me having to learn how to fly in a car. I I just think the insurance premiums would be through the roof. Hyperinflated currency, physical cash becomes obsolete, and digital currency replaces it. This again is Bart to the Future. I'm going to watch that. This keeps coming up. So Bart to the Future season 11. Yeah, I don't know if you could watch it on YouTube, but after I'm done this show, I'm going to watch that one. I think there's a lot of golden nuggets in that episode or in that season 11. AI writing scripts, Hollywood movies written entirely by AI. And I think this is beginning to happen because sometimes you're watching a movie and you're like, this is so dumb. This is dumb. This was in The Front, season 4. Again, you might want to come back and watch the show again and write down all these episodes I'm mentioning. Mass adoption of VR for education. Schools begin teaching entirely in virtual environments. This is Lisa's Wedding, season 6. Politics and society. Divisive elections, political campaign involving augmented reality debates. Think of Tree of House of Horror. This would be season 9. It looks like season 20. I don't know what that is. It's Roman numerals XXV 111. So what is that, 28? I didn't know there was that many seasons. I didn't know there was over 24 seasons of The Simpsons. Separation into smart cities, advanced cities using AI policing. The Day the Earth Stood Cool, season 24. Check out that episode. Ethical dilemmas with cloning. Human cloning becomes more prominent, sparking societal debate. A clone of my own from Futurama that has crossover vibes. So basically, I haven't seen any. Maybe I might have watched one episode of Futurama, but it's called A Clone of My Own. And I think I could see this coming more down the pipes where people are going to pay for clones. Now, we think of clones in a physical sense, but what I'm suggesting is the idea that you will pay $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 for yourself to be digitally cloned, so that if you let's say something happens to you in a car accident or whatever it is, you can still function because there's so much data on you that you can actually run a business with your clone, and your children, your wife will not miss you because she can actually go to the digital clone and say, I miss you, and you can say, I miss you back, and she can go to sleep at night and listen to you talking. I can see that being a huge, huge thing because technology, deep fake technology, all this stuff is getting so real that even now with YouTube, they actually asked me to have permission to use all of my video content for research purposes for YouTube. I said no, absolutely not. They're probably doing it already. So what they want to do is they want to digitize everything that you say, your image and everything, and clone it for research purposes. This is YouTube saying this to me as a partner, saying, hey, would you like to give us permission to do this? And we can't disclose what this will be used for in the future, but trust us, it's for research. And we can't give you the name of the company because we don't know which companies are going to be invented in the next year or so. But this is Google's next play, is to get permission from you. And I would argue that they probably already have this in play, but they're pushing it to grab all of your content so that they could tweak it and make you say something else that you never said. And you're going to get framed for something that you've never said. You're going to get canceled for something you've never said. So why am I continuing this podcast? Why am I continuing to be on YouTube? That is a very good question, because sometimes you think about it, you lie awake at night going, man, I could be framed for saying something tomorrow that I never said. I could be framed for that, and then people would just cancel you, or you can go to jail, or you can get fined, all this kind of stuff. And that is actually a scary thing. But I think, truth be told, they probably have enough stuff on us already without having to go to cloning us. I think they have enough pictures, they have enough video of us. You don't even have to have a YouTube channel. They have our phones. They have us taking videos of ourselves and sending it to friends and family when we go on trips. They only need a few minutes of you saying something, of you doing something, and then they can just map it. And then they can just tweak your voice. We've already seen Joe Rogan. I remember watching a video, it was a deep fake video, of Joe Rogan blasting Oprah Winfrey, calling her name, saying everything under the sun. And because his microphone was covering his mouth, I actually thought at first glance, I was like, Joe, you're being a little harsh on Oprah. That's not like you. And then you see at the end of the video that it was actually a deep fake video of Joe Rogan bashing Oprah Winfrey. So imagine them doing that. Like, it's not a reach. This is not a leap. I know they're going to be doing this. This is going to be the next push. This is how you cancel people, and this is how you pull a blind over someone's eyes. Imagine thousands of Christians, hundreds of thousands of Christians that have YouTube channels and they're raptured. Well, if you have AI technology and deep fake technology, you can keep those YouTube channels going until those people say something to get them arrested. And then as a government, you can just say these people weren't raptured. There's no such thing as a rapture. In fact, what had happened is they said something racial, they said something controversial, and so they're actually being detained, they're being arrested, whatever it is, and their channel's canceled. I could see that happening easily, easily happening. What else? Mass adoption for VR education. I mentioned that. Decisive or divisive elections. We talked about that. Separation of smart cities. Talked about that. Ethical dilemmas. Oh, legalized gambling. This is kind of interesting. Legalized gambling everywhere. Expansion of gambling across states and online. In Canada, we are now allowed to gamble on basically everything. That has never happened before. It was actually illegal to gamble in Canada online. Like, you can only do it through if you went to a casino or buying lottery tickets. But now you can bet on just about every game. You can bet on every play. You can bet on do they put tape on their left knee first, then their right knee? Is the ref going to put the whistle away with 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left in the game? You can bet on everything, everything. That wasn't around before, that technology, but now this is one of the things. What's the episode? It's called Springfield Legalized Gambling. So this is something that I could see happening more and more starting in 2025, that they'll just make it legal for people to gamble, and they'll bring down the gambling age as well. Digital voting fraud. Concerns around online voting systems being compromised. This was in the Treehouse of Horror, season 27, I believe. Tech giant collapse. A major tech company faces dramatic downfall. This is in the Cartridge Family, season 9. Hyper-personalized ads that feel psychic through AI analysis of thoughts. EIEI. Annoying grunt. This is season 11. So imagine having a commercial show up on your phone or on the channel based on something that you're thinking about doing. Like, maybe you wanted to travel to Hawaii and you didn't tell anything to anyone. You didn't say you want to go to Hawaii. All of a sudden, these commercials are coming up enticing you to go to Hawaii, and the tickets are so cheap, next to nothing. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're in Hawaii. So I could definitely see hyper-personalized ads coming out in 2025 if they're not already here today. Monopolization of industries, fewer corporations controlling major facets of life. This was in Simpson and Delilah season 2. So when you think about Klaus Schwab's and capitalism, what's his book? Stakeholder Capitalism. That whole book is about the idea of owning nothing and being happy. And the more there be, I can see this happening where there are less companies but bigger companies owning everything. AI oversight gone wrong. Corporations caught in scandals due to misused AI. Think Lisa's Substitute season 2. Climate technology misfire. Attempts to control weather systems lead to unintended global disasters. If you want to know the episode, it's called Brother, Can You Spare Two Dimes, Season 3. I'm probably going to watch that one as well. So Lisa's substitute, Lisa's wedding. What else? Brother, Can You Spare Two Dimes? Like, I would encourage you to watch some of these episodes and then think about it and go, is this something possible? Could this happen in our time? It's crazy stuff, right? Crazy. All right, so I'm going to watch, I think it's Lisa, The Wedding. I think I'm going to watch that. There's a few good ones that I'm going to check out, probably even today, and have a look and see if that can happen. But again, I hope you got something out of this. I know we only went for about an hour, but I think it's important to talk about topics like this because when they happen, you won't be surprised. You know, we talk a lot about the gospel, talk about Jesus Christ. And why do I do that on this channel? It's because I don't want you to show up before Christ and go, I never knew. I never heard anybody talk about you, Jesus Christ. I never heard anybody talk about the gospel. You can't say that on this channel. You can't say that I've never talked about Jesus Christ being the only way to be saved. We talk about it a lot here. We talk a lot about it on Uptime Community Church. John Fortier is always going on and on about 1 Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians 15 verses 1-4, that basically Paul's talking about the gospel that he preached. This is what we are to believe. So what is that? That Jesus Christ died on the cross according to the scriptures. He rose on the third day according to the scriptures. And the only way to be saved is through Jesus Christ. And because of that, we have a seal of approval by the Holy Spirit. Once you confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, you are saved. And you have to believe. It's like John said, you have to hear the gospel, you have to understand the gospel, and you have to believe the gospel. Understanding is realizing that what he did for you was for you, and then you believe it. You have to believe it. That's the secret sauce. So, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys a lot. And feel free to send me an email if you have any questions about the topics I talk about. Let me see if I have a banner. Let me see if I have. I'll let you know. Where is my email? Right here. So if you have any topics or questions you would like me to talk about, Black Swan Diary 2022@gmail.com. And I'm telling you, my email box is blowing up because of all your comments, all your conversations with me, all your ideas, questions. Some of your emails are extremely long, which I like. So don't stop sending a long email. I don't mind that at all. It just takes time to read them. But if there's anything that you think that I'm off the rockers on as well, let me know. If there's something that you want me to talk about a little bit more specifically, let me know that as well. If there's something that you think topic wise, like in a video, that you would like me to spend a little bit more time on, it could be the book of Ruth, it could be Genesis, could be verse by verse Bible study. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me, because then I can read your emails. I may not always respond to your emails, but I do read them, and my box is getting full. It's getting full of people emailing me. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in another video. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I hope you guys actually hang out with your family today. See you guys later. Bye for now. I should really turn my mic on, shouldn't I? I like to do this every once in a while, since there are still people on here, is do what is basically an encore, which is kind of like watching Marvel Comics. You know, at the end of the movie, people stick around and they're like, don't leave, because something's going to happen. They're going to talk about the next movie coming out, or they're going to give us some teaser or whatever. So this is kind of how I treat this. So thanks for sticking around. There's still like 90 people on here. So people like to engage in the conversations. And I think people just like hanging around a little bit. So this is me coming back. And let's just go through some of your... There was one comment that was actually kind of interesting. Let me see here. I'm just going to bring the music down a little bit more here. I like the ambience. All right, so let's see what else is here. Somebody said something that was interesting. Let me see if I can find it. Yvonne says, yep, surely we have to laugh at those days. Now we know how great they were. We were so happy the day we got our first black and white TV and it had to warm up. Wow. I remember that too. Black and white TVs warming up. When we got married, our anniversary is coming up on Sunday. We will be married 34 years, if you can believe it, 34 years. But our first TV was black and white. And we used to have to go and rent a VCR for like, I think it was like $5 or something. You could rent it for a night. And we go rent movies and then come back and get popcorn and all this kind of stuff. Make popcorn at home. And nowadays, man, you have everything on Crave, Prime, Netflix. It's just all the movies are on TV. Like, you really don't need to leave the house. You really don't. You can stay home all the time. Let's see here. What else? There was something that someone said in the comments. If there's any questions that you have, just put it in caps so I can see it. There's lots of talk here. Yeah, I forget where the question was, but it was actually a pretty good one. Like, obviously, you can gamble anywhere in the world, or anywhere in Canada, I should say. Like, never used to be like that. Now you can. And I think what is happening is businesses, aka entities, are trying to take our money from our fingers. How are they doing it? Well, one of the ways is by offering you digital currency and making you feel like this is the next wave, this is the best thing for you, because you'll never lose your wallet, even though you'll lose your digital passcodes and passports and all that kind of stuff. But they'll present it to you, the idea that you'll always have a digital currency, but paper is basically useless. So don't hang on to paper. We've been to places where They look at you funny now if you have paper money. They look at you, they're like, "Whoa, what is this stuff that you have? It's gross, it's disgusting." And even when COVID broke out, they were trying to push on us that money was dirty, that if you touch money, you can actually get sick and all this stuff, and you should actually just use your debit card. And these are the people that are grabbing their mask, talking to you, and then pulling it up and touching their face 100 times a minute, telling you what's safe and what isn't safe. These are the experts. So they really pushed hard the idea that physical paper money is dirty versus digital currency. And I think that's going to continue to be pushed. I'm expecting some kind of a wave in the next little while where they're going to push again us staying home. I don't think it'll work as effectively with the disease, but I could be wrong. I think what will work is if you create some kind of a fear that people will feel more safe at home than outside their door, and they can present that in a logical way that you would buy into it and go, yeah, it kind of makes sense. There's drones above us and they're telling us that they're emitting some kind of steam or some kind of mist that makes you sick and gives you cancer, just like that. So stay indoors so that you're safe until we figure this out. And we're going to pay for your food. We already told your boss not to worry about the paychecks. The government's going to step in and pay for everybody so that they can stay home and be safe. And I could see them doing something like that. All you need to do is you just need to do that for a month. Just do that for 30 days. And you don't need everybody. You just need less than 20% of the population to be taken care of. And then the Jones theory will kick in, where somebody will look over at their neighborhood and go, look at these people. They're being fed 3 square meals. They don't have to leave their house. They don't have to go get a job welding or whatever it is. They just stay home, and the government's feeding them and allowing them to buy and sell stuff online. Look at all the Amazon packages coming to their house. We can't do that because we didn't take the mark of the beast. I can see that coming down the pipes rather quickly. And when stuff like that becomes mainstream conversations, like, it's almost like when you have cousin Larry coming up to you telling you to get into Bitcoin, you should really try this. It's kind of too late for you. It's kind of too late. It's like me telling everybody to get into MySpace because it's going to be fantastic. I'm late. I'm late at the game. I'm late to the dance. So if you keep presenting this stuff to people, you only need a small percentage of people buying in. That's the whole thing. You don't need 80% of people. You don't need everybody. You just need a handful of people, arguably 20% of the population, to buy in, and you can move the world. We know this from experience. We know this. So thanks again, guys, for being on here. That's all for today. I really appreciate you guys being on here. And I hope you guys subscribe to this channel. I hope you guys consider commenting, sharing this video with other people, all this kind of stuff. And we'll see you in another video. Bye for now.